Okay. In summation of what happened in Act 1, Scene 7, the beginning, where Macbeth gives a soliloquy, he reasons out the answers for not killing Duncan, and he convinces himself that there is no point, that there is much that kind of holds him against that. We also learn that he also understands his own nature, that vaulting ambition is not a good enough reason for killing Duncan. Now, during this reverie, Lady Macbeth comes in. She enters, in a way, interrupting his train of thought. But it's just after he's decided that they will no longer do this. And Lady Macbeth comes in. Enter Lady Macbeth. And now what news? Now we see an exclamation mark. He kind of surprises him. How now? What news? And then she's quite matter of fact. He has almost supped. Why have you left the chamber? Now it's quite a short, almost terse kind of reaction to what he said. Almost a bit petulant, really. He's almost supped. Why have you left the chamber? Hath he asked for me? You know not he has. And here we almost get a little bit of sarcasm. We get quite a really terse interchange between the Macbeths. She's not happy. All right. Why is she not happy? He's not at the feast. Why isn't he at the feast? Because his conscience is playing up on him. Remember when she says to him in Scene 5 that your face, whereas people can see strange things, his face will betray him. The king will know that something's wrong, not know that he's being guessed and murdered, but that something is afoot. Okay. No, you not he has. Macbeth. And so we're kind of seeing a real, quite a tense interchange. And then we will proceed no further in this business. He hath honored me of late and have bought golden opinions of all sorts of people, which would be worn now in the newest gloss, not cast aside so soon. And let's just kind of pause for a second and consider one of the reasons. Does he say to her the reasons why he has decided not to do it? No, he doesn't. In fact, what he says is, he's honored me of late. But not only that, I have bought golden opinions from all sorts of people. And in a way, it kind of plays on Macbeth's perception that people's ideas about him matter, that really he doesn't want people to think badly of him. Yeah. And he's playing a role. Okay. So Macbeth's reasons are clear and compelling. Okay. But here with Duncan's death, Macbeth will lose the respect of the Thanes because he knows what will happen. Who stands to gain? Macbeth does. So he's under no illusion that it will be difficult to convince the Thanes that someone else committed the murder. Now, if we look a little bit closely here, we see how we say the terse tongue of Lady Macbeth as she rips apart her husband, as she kind of humiliates him and in a way sort of infantilizes him. Let's have a look at that. So she starts off, was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Question mark. Is that, what kind of question would that be? Of course, it's a rhetorical question. Have it slept since? Another rhetorical question. She presses the point. We drunk when you said this? Is this something that you just made up? All right. And what did so freely? From this time, such I account thy love. Thou art afeard to be in the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire. And she's calling into question his love for her, which is pretty low. You got this idea. Valor, coward, esteem, I dare not, drunk. We start to get semantic field here of kind of language that kind of is kind of looking at Macbeth's prowess, his valor, his courage, which we already know from Act 1, Scene 2, is beyond reproach. There is no one who's as brave as he is. And what we look at, the use of emotive and rhetorical questions are meant to insult, okay, Macbeth's sense of manhood. He's just as, how we say, susceptible to manipulation as anyone else. And because he dearly loves his wife, my greatest partner, okay, my dearest love, as he says, we understand that she can manipulate him through her guile. She's quite a wordsmith. Okay, now here, letting I dare not wait upon, I would, like the poor cat in the adage. And the cat in the adage is actually referring to an old tale where the cat would like to eat fish, but doesn't like to get his paws wet. And it's a little bit of a kind of like a saying, and she uses that. You want what's great, but you can't be bothered to do it. It's insinuating that he's possibly lazy or cowardly. All right. And then he says, pretty peace, pray thee, prithee, I beg you, peace. I dare do all that becomes a man who dares do as none. That's it. Macbeth is not really equipped to deal with his wife's emotional manipulation. He is someone who deeply feels things. We understand that. In a way, he doesn't bear the rational mind as well as someone like Banquo or Macduff or the other Fanes. That he is quite emotionally charged, perhaps neurotic. But we're not here to psychoanalyze him. We're here to look at his reaction. And so he's on the back foot. Prithee, peace, please don't speak to me that way. And then she presses onwards. What beast was it then that made you break this enterprise to me? What beast? A beast. You killed Duncan, you will show your manhood. That's what she's saying. Okay. When you durst do it, then you were a man. And then to be no more than you were, you would be so much more the man. And I want you to look at that. She uses his own masculinity against him. She's kind of using that emotional manipulation to put forward a point. And again, it comes down to that duality of rationality versus emotionality. Will the intellect triumph over feelings? Well, we do know the outcome. All right. And she says, did then adhere, and yet you would make both. They have made themselves, and if their fitness now doesn't make you. And this is a particularly grotesque thing that she says. I have given suck and know how tender it is to love the babe that milks me. I would. While it was smiling in my face, I've plucked my nipple from its boneless gums and dashed the brains out. Had I so sworn as you have done to do this? This is particularly grotesque, that a mother, a new mother, would actually kill her infant because of something that she had promised. All right. She uses that dreadful analogy. All right. And it goes against nature. Now, we must remember, this is what she says. Later on in the play, we know that she is really not very capable of doing anything like that. All right. And again, that unties me to ties in with Act 1, Scene 5 on Sex Me. It's that my mother's milk for gall. And Macbeth, not particularly standing up for his rights. A little pause. if we should fail. And in that sense, what does it mean? He's not sure, but he's kind of saying, can I trust you? Will it go ahead? Because as we know from, again, Act 1, Scene 5, that Lady Macbeth sees the dispatch of Duncan, the murder of Duncan, as being something that she will organize and be instrumental in doing. Okay. And then we get this almost arrogant idea of we fail. There's a sense of hubris, of arrogance. Our plan is simple, but will only give people some doubt about who killed Duncan. Most people will think it is them. And she understands this because immediately she'll say after that, but screw your courage to the sicking place and we'll not fail. When Duncan is asleep, whereto rather shall his day's hard journey soundly invite him. His two chamberlains will I with wine and wassail so convince. Memory, the warder of the brain, shall be a fume in their seat of reason, a limbeck only. Now here, she intends to drug them. And so that is her plan, to drug the bodyguards, because that's what chamberlains are. When in swinish sleep their drenched nature lies as in death. What cannot you and I perform upon the unguarded Duncan? What not upon the spongy officers who shall bear the guilt of our great quell? And there it is, our great quell. Again, the euphemism for murder. Because again, neither of them seem able to actually say it, kind of call it for what it actually is, which is murder. Macbeth says then, bring forth men, child only, for thy undaunted metal should compose nothing but males. And then now he's into it. He can see the benefit of the plan and the kind of simplicity of it. Will it not be received when we have marked their blood with those two sleepy of this young chamber and used their very daggers, that they have done it? Not particularly a criminal mastermind, but in its simplicity, I suppose it works. And Lady Macbeth says, who dares receive each other? As we shall make upon our griefs and clamor, roar upon his death. They're playing the role again, okay? They're playing the role of mourners, of people who are in grief, okay? They discuss playing their role. The social position guarantees no one will dare accuse the future king. By their very position, they are protected. They know that everyone will give them is despite the evidence. All right, and that's very important. And then finally, there. I am settled and bend up. Each corporal agent to his terrible feet away, and mock the time with fairest show. And here is your big quote. False face must hide what the false heart doth know. A false heart. And in a way we can kind of look at it. Again, is equivocation. That idea of pretending to be one thing but actually believing another. Equivocation Again, is that sort of bedrock of the play, of that understanding. False face, false heart. Okay, and we end up with that beautiful rhyming couplet at the end. Show, and no. Okay.